Good morning. Welcome once again to the Zest4 webinar. We've covered a number of topics that's already helping partners make the journey through the IoT minefield. And the reason I wanted to talk about this specific product today is that it's been driven by our partner conversations. I want to share with you the easiest way of tracking and managing a fleet of vehicles or a group of drivers using an IoT device that will, over a period of between 6 and 12 months, not only pay for itself through fuel savings and a reduction in mileage, but could even give you a return on that investment. It takes no time at all to install, and if positioned right, it's very, very easy to sell to a customer. So the key things I'll take you through today is what the device is and who's buying it, how easy it is to roll this solution out. I'll give you a demonstration of the platform and some of the insight that the device will give you. I'll share a case study with you for takeaway. You can see what the ROI is and what to do next. For anyone that's been in the telecoms industry for some time, you'll know that vehicle telematics has been around forever. How can it not be a saturated market? Well, as with your mobile handset, there are always new solutions, new enhancements, and new pieces of technology that make the solution better. So existing users will upgrade and new users will take the solution for the first time. If we take a look at the growth of IoT in specific sectors, you can see that vehicle telematics is still one of the largest growth areas, only being bettered by energy and utilities, and this is predominantly down to the smart metering initiatives. But what we're going to look at today is not the usual telematics device. Historically, telematics devices have been expensive systems that have had to be hardwired into a vehicle. They've been expensive to manage on a monthly basis, limited in the level of information that they'll give you, and as such have generally only ever been used by bigger fleets, usually focused on HGVs, etc. But as a fleet manager of a business or an owner where you've got a duty of care for your employees, you have a requirement for brand protection. You probably want to make some cost savings when running a fleet of vehicles. So irrespective of the size of your fleet, if you're a business owner that has any vehicles that you're responsible for, then you should have the ability to manage those vehicles and manage the use of those vehicles, along with controlling the cost of running them. To do this and more, you need to be able to monitor driver behaviour. You need to be able to get insight into exactly what's going on in your vehicles. You need to understand how they're being driven to make sure they're not being abused when they shouldn't be. In order to do this, the telematics solution that you're using has to be able to provide you with real-time information on many, many aspects of that driver behaviour. The Zest4 solution will give you a myriad of reports that will allow you to do this. The Zest4 plug-and-play device is a revolutionary telematics device that enhances driver safety and reduces fleet operating costs. The device records things like routes taken, mileage travelled, start and stop times, direction of travel, but most importantly, driver behaviour statistics such as harsh acceleration, harsh braking, harsh turning or shock detection. All of this information is collected and is visible through an online portal. So as a fleet manager or business owner, you can see exactly what's going on within your company vehicles. The system automatically generates emails and alerts to the fleet manager or business owner, advising any time one of the set rules or agreed parameters have been broken. These all contribute to helping you identify road risks, improve driver and fleet safety. It's simple yet powerful telematics. Our online telematics portal that supports the device helps deliver driver safety and protection information to you within seconds of an incident taking place. That may be a road collision or just an unsafe speeding event. And the driver also wants to know that you're looking out for them. GPS Vehicle position data from the Zest4 plug and play device is sent to the portal every minute, so you can accurately track and replay the route via a simple use dashboard. So let me show you this in action. So this is a Zest4 plug and play device. As you can see, it's very small and compact. It's designed to plug directly into the OBD port of your vehicle. It's a sealed unit and the SIM is securely housed in there at the point of manufacture. So all you need to do is plug this into your vehicle, turn your vehicle on, and you're ready to go. So let's take a look at the Zest4 portal and see what info is available to us. Initially, when you first log in, you're faced with what looks like to be a standard telematics type dashboard. Down the left hand side, you'll see the vehicles within your group. And at first glance, you'll see basic vehicle information that identifies what vehicle it is. And this is configurable. So you can rename them and use different icons as you see fit. You'll also see if the vehicle is parked or on the move. If the vehicle is parked, it'll have a large P beneath it. If the vehicle is on the move, you'll see a rolling road along with the speed that the vehicle is travelling at that time. If you select the vehicles that you want to see, they'll appear on the map. So you'll have a view of where each of these vehicles are. As standard, you get access to the map functions that you'd expect to see on any telematics device really. I can have a satellite view, so I can see where my vehicle is. I can also show traffic. Just take a look at our demo fleet. Now if I select a vehicle and hit the journey tab, I can see more relevant information on that vehicle and the journey that it's taken. I can see that today this vehicle has made 2 journeys. And if I click on that button, I can see a bit more information about the journey. I can see where the journey was to and from, the start and stop times, how long it took, any idling. I can also see at a glance the maximum speeds. On the left, I've got a Snail Trail. This shows me the route and the direction. On here, you'll see any warnings. If the triangles are blue, it's telling you the information about that vehicle, where the reading was taken, how fast it was going, etc., and that it's not breaking any rules. If those triangles were red, that would be an alert and a warning that that vehicle has broken one of the thresholds that you put in place. If I look across to the right, I can see the red is the actual speed limit of the road that that vehicle was on, and the green is the speed that that vehicle was travelling at any point in time. The journey doesn't have to be today. If I click a vehicle that I know was used yesterday, I go into here, I can select the date. I can use one of the quick buttons, or I can put my own dates in. I'll click yesterday because I know that vehicle was used yesterday. I can then see 5 journeys were made. If I want to look at those journeys in more detail, I can do that. Select a particular journey, and again I can see on the Snail Trail where the journey was made and the performance of that vehicle. I can see on this one there are some red triangles. So if I zoom in here and take a look at one of these for you, I can see, if I hover over it, the warning was for acceleration exceeded. Now if I look on this journey, there's potentially 2 or 3 of these. That would tell me that this driver is probably a little bit heavy-footed, and he's no doubt wasting my fuel and could be heading for an incident. This is something that I'd probably want to address. All useful pieces of information when managing a fleet. As well as the map function across the top, you can see one here that says proximity. This allows me to see which of my vehicles are closest to any given location. This is ideal if I need to reroute a driver to meet an instant requirement. I would simply put in a location and it would then tell me which of my drivers were closest or furthest away from that particular location. I'll come back to reports later, but I'm going to look at today now. Today does as you'd expect. You click on a vehicle and it will show you all the information you need on that vehicle and what it's done today. Its maximum speed, its average speed, the journey that it's done, etc. Initially it's going to give you a summary, but if you click on any of these, it will then give you all the information you need about that particular journey. Routing is a typical function. Put in point A, point B, and it allows you to forecast a route. The same information you'd normally get on things like Google Maps. Moving across the bar, I'm going to miss plant hire for today because that's a separate webinar in itself, and we're going to look at alerts and administration. The alert function is where you would see your notifications, any incidents that have taken place. Now, as a customer, you can pre-configure the type of information that you receive here. Typical alerts are for things like speeding, harsh acceleration or braking, any impact or crashes, etc. Your customer would also get an email notification every time one of these alerts come in. That way, if they're not in front of the portal, they can still see the same level of information and be warned that an alert has happened. More specific alerts, if a vehicle has been towed or the device has been disconnected, the battery's been disconnected, you'll also get notification of this, as you can see by the one on screen. This will stay there then until you acknowledge the alert and move on. And the admin function comes in hand with the alerts, because this is where you would pre-configure your alerts. It's a simple click process and very user friendly. Some of the key ones being used are again for idling or poor driving or tow alerts. Let's take a look at a few in here. I'll select my vehicle and I can see if it's green, it means it's been activated. I've set this vehicle or I've set this device up to give me an alert if any of these things happen. So if it's been tampered with, if the battery's disconnected, if the vehicle's been towed. As I say, these are really simple one-click pre-configurable alerts. Other alerts that I can get are geofence alerts. If I've set a perimeter up around a particular area and the vehicle either enters or exits that area, I'm going to get a notification. Journey start and stop times. When the ignition's turned on or off, or a vehicle starts a journey or ends a journey, I can be notified. Speed threshold alerts. Again, I can be notified if a vehicle breaks the speed limit, and I can put thresholds and parameters in there. This really allows you to manage your drivers and the behaviour that's happening with them. Now, there are loads and loads of other alerts that we can set up in here. Again, I'm not going to go through them all today because we'd be here forever, but this is how you'd actually do it. So you can see it should be really easy to manage vehicles within a fleet, but how do you manage drivers and driver behaviour? Let's look in a bit more detail at this. I've got a separate dashboard that I would use for this one. If I look at this dashboard, it gives me access to a lot more information and a set of reports and parameters that allows me to fully manage my driver behaviour. And the key thing to note is that you can manage, if you can manage how your drivers drive, you can significantly help control the costs within your business. This dashboard is configurable, so you can choose to have the tiles visible that are the most use to you within your business. So let's start with the journey tile. I can see here that 3% of the journeys have been idling. This perhaps doesn't seem significant now, but in the winter that massively jumps up, particularly in white van fleets, where you'll see drivers maybe sit for 20-30 minutes in the morning warming the van up before they get in, or sitting there over lunchtime with the vehicle running. This can significantly impact on fuel costs. I can see 532 journeys, nearly 3,000 miles have been covered, and 7 out of my 10 vehicles that I'm monitoring have been used this month. And if I hover over it and click on it, I get a full report. All the information that's on the front page here is built into charts and reports in the back end. And I can then drill down and look at every individual vehicle, every journey, all the idling, the distance they've covered, etc., etc., in order for me to properly manage my fleet of drivers. Now, in the interest of time, I'm not going to go into all the information behind here. I just want to give you an overview of some of the level of information you can get. We spoke about idling. What we can also do is build into the background the fuel costs. So you can see at a glance how much idling is costing you. Now, at 3% idling time, that's already cost me £21.66 in fuel, just idling. Now, as I said, that massively increases in the winter. So you can see a significant saving on fuel costs if you can stop vehicle idling. And again, click on it, it will give you the full report in the background that will let you know which vehicle has done the most idling, when they were doing it, etc., to allow you to manage your driver behaviour. I then move across to speeding events. This is a key one, and we see pretty much every fleet using this. It's a great way of managing and recognising poor performance in a fleet. The last thing you need is a vehicle with your logo plastered all over it, driving in a manner that is not legal. If I take a look at this report, it shows me all my drivers, how many times each of my drivers have broke a specific speed limit, whether that be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, etc. I can also see the detail behind each one. I can see where and when the offence took place. I can see the maximum speed that they had on that journey. And it will only take a few reprimands to a driver to get them to change their behaviour. Cutting down on speeding and erratic driving will cut down the risk of an accident, and it should also offer you significantly better fuel consumption. Sticking with speeding offences, if I go back to the dashboard, I can again get another report on this type of behaviour. If I look at the My Speeders report, I can get a proper management view. It ranks my drivers based on their behaviour. I can see the green ones I have no worry with. I can see the orange ones, then I can see the ones in red that really are a problem to me. Again, not going to go into full detail here. Other things I can see are carbon footprint. Again, not important to all, probably should be, but it's something you can look at based on sort of your drivers and the behaviour. And there are a couple of reports there in the middle that I'll take a look at now before we move on. These are things like vehicle score and my risk performance. Both are slightly different views of identifying your higher and low risk drivers. If I have a look at the information that sits behind here, I can see that each driver is managed on a predefined metric. And things we're looking at is how many journeys they've done, the distance. We score them out of 100 on acceleration, deceleration, how much time they drive at night, how much time they drive in urban areas, and the speed, etc. All this is then calculated and it gives me an overall score. And again, we'll rank my drivers. So I can see from best to worst who are the drivers that I need to be managing and having a conversation with. And again, all these reports can be printed off in Excel or PDF format, so you can really use them when you're sitting down to manage driver behaviour. As I said earlier, on this driver management dashboard, there are loads and loads of different things that you can add or put on here to help manage the use of your drivers. But what I'm going to do now is go back to the main dashboard, because I did say I'd come back to reporting. From a reporting point of view, we've got probably the most comprehensive list of reports that are available within a telematics solution. Again, this page is configurable, so you can adjust the level of reports that you see here. You can have just the ones on here that are relevant to your business. But these reports will give you access to pretty much everything that you need to see when managing a fleet of vehicles or driver behaviour. If there's not a report on here that you're looking for, then talk to us. because it's probably something we can have built in the background for you or your end user. So that was basically just a very quick overview of the portal and some of the information that can be obtained from the portal, and a few different ways of actually managing your driver behaviour and ensuring that your vehicles are being used in the manner you'd expect them to be used. So let's leave the demo portal there for a bit, and I'll come back to the presentation deck. I did say I'd talk you through a case study. One of our partners were asked to support the fleet management of 20 small commercial vans. A solution was deployed using the Zest4 plug-and-play telematics devices to monitor and improve driver behaviour. That was the key thing they were looking for. They wanted to get reduction in incidents, speeding incidents in particular, accidents, and to do this by improving the driver behaviour and hopefully get some efficiencies out of it. Data was fed back to the drivers directly via the fleet manager using some of the reports that you saw earlier. And after 6 months, the deployment demonstrated an improvement in driver behaviour. It also highlighted the importance of feedback in order to reinforce the message. We saw a reduction in the monthly miles being driven across the fleet and a significant average increase in MPG across all vehicles. Also, speeding offences were reduced significantly. From a fuel efficiency point of view, over that 6-month period, they saw a 14% decrease in fuel costs. So, the solution. Each of the 20 vehicles were fitted with one of the plug-and-play devices. It plugged directly into the vehicle's onboard diagnostic socket and obviously reported the information into the Zest4 Telematics portal. We looked at driver behaviour, focusing on what we spoke about earlier: speeding, harsh acceleration, harsh braking, urban driving and nighttime driving. We scored each metric out of 100 and weighted it in accordance with perceived influence on overall risk. We looked at speeding events. Automated speeding reports were set up and scheduled to be delivered to the business owner. We set this up to highlight speeding events in excess of 10% of the posted speed limit. We did this on all vehicles. Location-based alerts. We set up places of interest, or geofences. These were added to the system to inform the fleet manager of any vans heading into areas that were known or to be seen to be visited regularly by vans that were not on a particular route. These included home locations, rest stops. We looked at out-of-hours alerting, and a notification was sent immediately to the fleet manager when the vehicle ignition was turned on or used at any point outside of the agreed working hours. Again, this generated a report each week to show which drivers had been using their vehicles outside of working hours. We then made sure we'd set up some real parameters around feedback and management. Fleet management regularly fed back driver behaviour and speeding reports to each individual driver, and it became clear that regular feedback was critical and had a significant impact on the driver's behaviour. After the first bit of feedback, driving behaviour improved significantly, but after a space of a week or so, it started to creep back in, the bad behaviour. At that point, we had another feedback session, and again it instantly improved. It seems the more feedback sessions you have in the early stages, the easier it becomes to control the driver behaviour, because as drivers know that they're being monitored and managed, the behaviour has to change if they want to keep the jobs. So let's take a look at the results. If we start looking at things like fuel expenditure, the first month of telematics data showed the average MPG across the fleet of vans was running at 30.63 miles per gallon. However, by the end of the third month, this had improved by 11.7%, and the vans were averaging 34.21 miles per gallon. Based on an average monthly mileage of 3,245 miles per month per van, and an average fuel price at the time of £1.33 a litre, or £6.05 a gallon, the following results were achieved. There was a £67.14 saving per vehicle per month on fuel expenditure. That's £1,342 across a fleet of 20 vans in a month. Times that by 12 months, and that gives you a saving of over £16,000 across the fleet, just in fuel expenditure. We then looked at mileage reduction. Prior to installation of the telematics, the average mileage per vehicle was 3,409 miles in a calendar month. Following the implementation of the telematics device, this had reduced to 3,245, a reduction of 3.8%. Now we can only assume that this is because drivers are not doing journeys that they shouldn't have been doing in the first place, not taking detours to go places that they shouldn't be doing. And again, by having the geofence locations and points of interest in there, we've been able to stop this. So the average mile saved is 119 miles a month. £19.88 saving per vehicle. That's £397 saved across the fleet, with a £4,771 saving forecasted within a 12-month period. So the total cost reduction by having the telematics solution in place over a 12-month period could be as much as £20,000. So to bring the case study to a conclusion, the increase in fuel efficiency alone and the reduction in speeding offences, the improvement in driver behaviour, has seen a long-term contract secured for the Zest4 telematics solution with a partner. Return on fuel savings was a fraction of the cost of implementing a telematics solution, and after the first half year of use, we can reasonably assume that there'll be fleet savings made in probably a reduction on maintenance spend on the vehicles, because they're not getting abused in the same way. In the future, insurance is also likely to be a factor. If there is a reduction in accidents, that means a reduction in risk, so the fleet should see a reduction in the overall insurance spend when renewals are due. These are all factors that really should be positioned with a customer when customers are looking at how much it would cost to roll out a telematics solution. So what's in it for you as a partner? It's easy to see how the customer can save money and probably even get a return on the investment. But as a partner, you purchase all this equipment from Zest4 at wholesale level. You purchase a monthly subscription from us at a wholesale level, and then add your own margin. And we typically see in the region of about a 40% margin on hardware and between 30 and 40% margin made on the monthly subscriptions. Not only this, it gets another product into your customers and probably earns you the right to ask about what else you can do for them from an IoT connectivity point of view. So I'm not sure what more I can say on this now. I hope that I've shown you that the solution is very easy to sell. It's a solution that should be relevant to pretty much all of your customers that have vehicles within their business. It can give a massive benefit to each customer. Customers should be able to get return on their investment, and it will give you another revenue line within your customer base. So how do you move this forward? Well, I'm more than happy to support any of you with demos of the system, commercial models, return on investment calculators, etc., and anything else that you need to sell these. So please use me as needed to get these into your base. So I'm going to bring the webinar to a close now. Shortly, I will ask if there's any questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand using the tools at the bottom. I'll then unmute your microphone and I'll do what I can to answer the question. Any questions that I can't answer today, feel free to email me afterwards and I'll try and put them out to the group. I'll also share a video of this webinar, so if there's any points that you want to look back on or share it with colleagues, then you'll have the ability to do that. Thank you for listening today, and over to you for any questions.